Welcome back to The Joy of Vinyl. I'm Rick Coste. It's no secret that I'm a bit obsessed with vinyl records. I write, I podcast, and I create video content like this about them. I also buy them, much more than I used to when I was younger. And even then, I amassed a decent sized collection. A couple years ago, my wife agreed to the purchase of a large cabinet, this one right here, that will hold hundreds of records and also serve as the perfect showpiece for the turntable right up above. Now, we had the cabinet custom built, and I left space for future records. Now, I'm embarrassed to say, that space, it's no longer a space, it's full. And the overflow is outside of the cabinet. We now need more storage. My love of vinyl has literally taken over a room in the house. So, where do I buy my records? Well, occasionally on Amazon, very occasionally, since my preference is not new reissues of records, but the originals or reissues pressed shortly after that. Brand new records from artists are also the exception, but only if my local record shop doesn't have it. I bought Neil Young's Barn through Discogs. I wasn't patient enough to wait, and it wasn't available at my local store. So that brings me to Discogs. It can be a little intimidating at first if you don't know your way around. So I'm going to show you the method I use to find records on Discogs. It doesn't need to be your way, but hopefully you'll find something useful and something you can use to create your own way of navigating the twists and turns of shopping on Discogs.
My first stop is always my local record shop, and I'm fortunate to have one not more than 5 minutes away, and it's an excellent one. The owner constantly refreshes his stock. It's a really good shop. And if I can't find what I'm looking for there, or I'm not happy with the copy that's available, I'll go to Discogs. Now, I've had a lot of luck on Discogs. Now, that being said, I have heard horror stories about records not showing up for months, or when they do, the buyer reports a bad grading experience, like buying a near-mint copy and receiving one considered good at best. Now, I'm always a little bit cautious when a seller with a huge inventory has 2 or more copies of something I want, where one is a couple grades below the other. It's not that they're doing anything wrong, obviously, but what if they grab the wrong one? I can see it happening, especially if they're also a brick-and-mortar shop and have employees who may not be aware of the difference. And I've seen comments to that effect within Discogs as well. But I think the reason I don't have any of my own horror stories to share is due to how I shop there. And I've bought a lot. As an aside, I just checked to see how much I've bought in the last year, and I'm a little disgusted with myself. And that's only on Discogs. There's got to be support groups for this. Since my experience has always led to positive transactions, I figured I'd share my method. It's not difficult by any stretch of the imagination. It's not rocket science. It's pretty intuitive. Now, I was new to Discogs once, and I somehow avoided the pitfalls of not quite knowing my way around. As much as I appreciate Discogs and their software, it's not exactly the easiest to navigate. I also prefer the web-based version when purchasing and not the app that comes on, say, iPhone and or Android. The browser version, at least for me, is much easier to navigate. I do use the app, though, to catalog my collection because I love the barcode assistance it provides. So everything I say here is based on the browser experience when buying. Now, I've never in my life sold a record, so I can't speak to that experience either way. Also worth noting, there is an advanced feature for searching, which is very helpful if you're looking for a specific version. I do use it now and then, but what I'm showing here is my go-to search practice when looking for the availability of a given album. For starters, I do a quick search on the album I'm looking for and select the All Versions listing. Sometimes, although rare, you'll see more than one selection that says All Versions. I have no idea why, and it's probably an easy explanation, I just don't know it. So I choose both in different tabs and perform the same steps. Now, this should bring you to the page that says Master Release at the top right. If it says Release instead, you're in the wrong place, but that's okay. Just select All Versions of this release below that to get to the Master Release page. I like to start there. Directly below the Master Release section is one called Marketplace, with a number of records available for sale. Now select the link on the number for sale. This brings you to a fun page that lists all copies in the marketplace. and it can be quite huge. For example, if you're looking for the Beatles' Abbey Road, you'll be presented with probably thousands for sale. Now it's time to narrow that list down. From here, I select the following. Where it ships from, I put United States because I'm in the US. Format, vinyl, and media condition, mint, if available. Near mint if not. I never go below that unless I really, really want the record, and I've only done that once. Grading is subjective, so I'm wary of very good listings unless the seller is exceptional and provides an excellent description of the media. I like to see what's out there in the mint world first. If all that's available is a recent reissue, I'll deselect mint and drop to near mint. From here, I sort by price. Now it's time to narrow things down. This is where I look at the sellers themselves. I care about two things: rating percentage, which represents buyer approval experience, and number of ratings. Now, I am very picky here and will usually ignore anything below a 95% approval rating, and that depends on the number of ratings received. Crowd numbers do count. A 99.9 approval with 9,394 ratings holds way more weight than a 100% with 25 ratings. 100% is great, but a low number of ratings usually means a new seller. And I'm not willing to take the chance unless that's all that's available to me. Now, I will look at the comments if I don't have many to choose from and the sellers are new or hover near the 95% mark. Sometimes the negative comments are beyond the seller's control, but you can see trends like poor grading practices, slow shipping, or lousy communication. Sellers with high approvals and many ratings will usually translate to a great experience.
Oh, there's one more tip I don't want to leave out. Many sellers will only charge one shipping cost unless the order happens to be a big one. Now, if you're hunting for a couple of records, check the seller's inventory to see if they have the other record, and if the condition is acceptable, order both records from the same seller. It saves a little bit on shipping, and it takes a few extra minutes, but it could be worth the price of a beer or two. Oh, and one last thing, sealed records. Now, I've kind of flip-flopped on this recently because I was recently burned on a couple of records that I bought that were over 40 or more years old. Two were warped. One was badly warped. I can't blame the seller. There's no way they could have known. I mean, it was a sealed record. So who knows where it's been these last 4 decades and under what condition. It could have changed hands multiple times before finding its way to me. Well, I now tend to prefer knowing that someone has at least looked at the record, and I can rely on the seller's ratings and reviews to determine if their grading system appears to somewhat mirror my own grading system. Now, there are no guarantees, there's never guarantees, but a little extra effort does go a long way. You know what else takes a little extra effort? Subscribing to this channel. And if you want to know when new episodes are released, click the little bell icon that's down below. And until next time, please take care of yourself and enjoy your records.